So something pretty unusual is happening in Genshin Impact version 5.6, and if you've been following the story since the beginning, this will probably catch your attention. We're actually getting a new Archon Quest in Mondstadt. Yes, Mondstadt, while we're still in Natlan. This is the first time in the game's history that we're getting an Archon Quest that returns to a previous region while the main progression is happening somewhere else. And not just a small side story or a world quest. This is a full-on Act 4 of the Mondstadt Archon Quest. It kind of shakes up the usual structure, right? Normally, we'd expect the Archon Quests to move us forward from Mondstadt to Liyue to Inazuma and so on, each nation getting its own arc. But now, we're circling back, and that makes me think, maybe Mondstadt still holds some unfinished threads. Or maybe the writers are starting to blur the boundaries between current regions and past ones. It could mean that future Archon quests won't be so strictly tied to one nation anymore, which opens up a lot of storytelling possibilities. Anyway, let's talk about what we actually know. This quest will focus on Durin. Yeah, the same Durin that fell during the events we heard about in Dragonspine lore. That mysterious creature Albedo always seems to have some connection to. But this time, it's not just old stories. Durin's coming back into the spotlight in an active, story-driven way, and apparently we'll even meet a mini-Durin. That alone sounds suspiciously cute and terrifying at the same time. Jean, Albedo, and even Alice will play a role in this quest. And here's the fun twist. Alice and Barbeloth will appear, but not in their actual human forms. Instead, they'll show up in the form of Dodoko again. Yeah. For anyone who played the Golden Apple Archipelago event, you'll probably remember Alice trolling everyone through chaotic voice messages and reality-bending islands. That event was fun, but also gave us a glimpse of just how powerful and eccentric she really is. And now she's back, kind of, but still not fully present. What's even more interesting is that Barbeloth is finally showing up too. She's actually Mona's master and one of the most mysterious characters in Genshin. She's also from the same Hexen Zirkel circle as Alice, which means both of them are among the most powerful mages in Teyvat. We've been hearing about Barbeloth since Mona's character story way back in 1.0, and now she's technically in the game, just not in the way many of us were hoping. Honestly, it's getting a little frustrating. These are some of the most hyped-up characters in the lore, especially Alice, who's not only Klee's mom, but also responsible for some of the weirdest and most creative moments in the game. And now, with Barbeloth also finally appearing in a major Archon quest, you'd think this would be the moment to finally reveal their designs. But instead, they're reduced to Dodoko forms again. It's cute, sure, but I know I'm not the only one thinking, just give us their actual models already. It kind of feels like the devs are holding back on purpose, maybe saving them for something even bigger later on, or maybe they're just not ready to commit to full designs yet. Either way, it's a little disappointing that we're so deep into the story, getting huge lore reveals, but still haven't actually seen these characters who are supposedly shaping so much behind the scenes. Also, this update introduces a weekly boss, and not through a Archon quest like they usually do. Instead, this boss is going to be introduced through someone's story quest. That's a pretty rare move, and it makes the quest feel a lot more impactful. It won't just be a lore drop, it's also going to push the gameplay forward. We're getting 2 cutscenes too, one for the story and one that kicks in during the boss battle itself. Honestly, it sounds like it's going to be cinematic. Now, shifting gears just a bit, but still staying in the 5.6 zone, let's talk about Dahlia. You might have heard this name floating around for a while. In version 5.6, Dahlia is going to appear as an NPC, but from what we've heard, he's not just some side character. It looks like he's being set up for a proper release as a playable character later, maybe in 5.7 or 5.8. The interesting thing is that he's a sword user, and that kind of gives us some room to imagine his playstyle. We don't have solid info about his element yet, or how he plays exactly, so for now it's speculation. But introducing him as an NPC first feels like a classic setup. This approach also gives the devs some flexibility. Maybe they'll test out his personality, tweak his design, or change his element depending on player reaction. So keep an eye on him, because we might start picking up hints about his role in the story or team synergies once we see him in 5.6. And now, something that I think is flying under the radar but could be a big deal in the future. The new reaction being tested in version 5.6's Imaginarium Theater. This isn't a regular elemental reaction that applies to the whole game, though. Not yet. For now, it looks like it's just a localized buff that only works in the theater. Here's how it works. Cryo plus Dendro creates these thorns, 2 at max, and if you add Electro to those thorns, they become super thorns. It's a really interesting mechanic that sort of echoes how the elemental system usually works, but with an extra step. And the fact that it's limited to the Imaginarium Theater kind of reminds me of how Genshin sometimes tests new mechanics in events or side modes before rolling them out globally. That makes me wonder, are they experimenting with a new elemental reaction that could actually be introduced to the main game later on? Right now, Dendro and Cryo don't interact in the standard reaction system. So this could be a test bed, like a prototype. And if it ends up working well, maybe because it encourages creative team comps or opens up new playstyles, we might see it added to the core game. Imagine the synergy possibilities. Right now, reactions like Hyperbloom and Aggravate dominate the meta for Dendro, but introducing Cryo into that mix could create a whole new niche. It would also give Cryo characters, who sometimes feel a bit left out of modern team comps, more reasons to be used again. Ganyu, Rosaria, even Layla could benefit, especially if Super Thorns ends up scaling off elemental mastery or something interesting, like resistance penetration or defense reduction. That's all speculation for now, of course, but it's fun to think about. So I want to hear what you all think. Are you excited to go back to Mondstadt in the middle of Natlan's storyline? Do you think Dahlia will become a fan favorite, or is it too early to tell? And what's your take on the Thorn and Super Thorn reaction? Do you think this is Genshin slowly paving the way for new elemental combos? Drop a comment. I'm curious how you'd use these new mechanics if they became part of the main game. And if you've got a theory about Mini Durin or how Alice will actually look in Dodoko form, definitely share it. We're entering some very weird and very fun territory in 5.6.